Awesome. So this is the Habitat Public Issue Triage for the week of July 25th, it would seem. I have posted the query that we're going to use to track the issues today inside of the general channel on the Habitat Slack. And we're going to kind of work through these. I would expect, theoretically, some other people may join as we go through. But we're kind of in crunch time to get a release out the door today. So it's also possible that people will need to finish other work. So we're going to start with issue number 2814. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen theoretically here. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see that. 2814, I'm going to pop that up and give everybody a moment to read through what's here. So the issue is that when you start first node in a ring, the group setting gets ignored. Or at least that's the expectation. This looks to me like it might be something that we need to do.
I think
go ahead.
Well, I got some weird echo going on here, but Jamie's note, I think, is could be the answer here, and this either way, I think there's something for us to do, in that because I've had this happen to me before, where you do a hab load or a hab soup load, and it loads up, with or without a group, and then later you do a hab start, but it honors it honors the spec from the load over the start, and so you're either in a different group or you're in no group at all. And I think what Jamie's saying in his note is to check out hab sub status, because that will give you the actual information that the supervisor is running off of. But even if that is the case, as Jamie mentions, we should at least put out some kind of warning saying, hey, this is what we're running as, because it totally is a WTF moment when this happens.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It's not, it might be something we would consider a bug, but more likely it's just some cleanup work. It's sort of expected that it would behave that way. It's just not clear that that's the way that it behaves.
Right.
I think it's probably a pretty easy thing to fix. And since it's in the supervisor code, it's going to be Rust. We'll go ahead and add those. And I think for milestone, this is likely something that we can do. But I don't know actually right now if this is going to get any kind of prioritization. So I think probably what we should do is tag it as help wanted.
This seems important enough that we should prioritize it. I mean, help wanted. Okay. I mean, if he wants to come in and do this, that's awesome. And but I think this is, in my mind, this is important enough that we should, because I know, like, I personally have stumbled off of this and have lost time when it was thinking, why did this happen? And on the team. So if it's
right,
me, it's gonna
yeah, cool.
All them all.
Well, then I went ahead and flagged it as accepted minor. We can always come back and revisit that. And yeah, if Tom is watching or sees this later on, he can definitely definitely do the work if he feels like it. But it's something that needs to get done either way. So let's go ahead and move on to 2810. I'll give everybody a second. Yes. So I think that this is part of some of the fixes that are getting shipped today. So we can go ahead and put it in accepted minor and flag it as a bug. And I think that this is related to the studio. I guess it would technically be the way the studio is pulling down the wrong version of the hab binary or the habitat package.
I'm not sure it's habitat in particular. I think it's when you're building the studio, it's not honoring channels. So it's just grabbing the latest out there, basically from unstable.
Gotcha.
I could totally be misspeaking, but I know this has come up in our discussion, and I'm almost certain that Fletcher had a fix for it. I mean, it almost feels like I bet you there's a PR. Like if we look in here that touches on this, and might even be worth posing this out as a duplicate.
Yeah.
Looking at that, I can try and hunt that down.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll put it in accepted minor for now. Because I thought that I heard Fletcher earlier today say that he was fixing this, but I might be wrong about that. So we'll leave it there. If we'll put it in accepted minor for now, we can follow up afterwards. 2804. So this is going to be work that's related to the Kubernetes operator that's currently being built, and this is just an issue for tracking. So I think for now we could actually add this onto a project so that it doesn't get flagged this way for triage. And the work that's going on here, for those of you who are watching, the Kubernetes operator that is being developed is I'm not actually entirely certain of where it is state-wise right now, but Kinvolk are the folks that are throwing that together, and they have a repo out there, which is not flagged here on this issue. Doesn't necessarily need to be, but you can go out to the Kinvolk repos and you can find the habitat operator, and that's where some of the integration points and these are going to be. That work is going to be developed. Some of the rest of it's going to happen in the Habitat core code base. But for now, we'll put this out on the Kubernetes integration project just so that it doesn't get re-triaged again next week. We'll move on to 2802. So this has got to be the same. I think this has got to be tied to the same problem that Ryan was seeing.
Yep.
I'm going to label this as a bug, and I'm going to leave a comment. On the other issue, just for tracking purposes, to make sure that we don't miss that these two may be in fact related. And I'll do the same thing for this one. I don't know what his, that's okay. And we'll go ahead and put that in accepted minor as well, since because both those things will need to be resolved for certain, and it's likely that's going to be work that we're going to have to do in the immediate future. 2798. Yep. Yeah. That is definitely an oversight, I think. Straightforward. I think that this is a pretty simple, would be a simple fix for somebody who's looking to do some work in the HAB component inside the project. More or less, we just need to validate that the file is there, and then do a couple of two different things. I don't know if there's other options that we might want to handle for the case that the file already exists, but either way, it's definitely something that needs to get fixed. Let's see. I would assume this is something we'll put in help wanted for now. And mind you, anybody who's watching the videos, we definitely are going to be revisiting our help wanted project at the end of the month, and planning to do that every month, at least once a month, to make sure that our things that are in there are getting appropriately reevaluated as kind of progress is being made. So just because we're putting this in help wanted now doesn't mean that it's not going to get fixed by us in the future. But if anybody watching wants to implement a fix, obviously feel free to ask any of us. We'd be happy to help you get started on fixing that. Let's move on to 2782. And I'll give everybody a minute to read this as well. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if this is an operational change because of adding the launcher, or if this is an actual bug. I actually haven't had a chance to play with the launcher because of being out on PTO pretty much from the minute that that got released. So
Yeah, that's my suspicion, is that, and we do definitely have a fix for that. It's hard for me to tell 100% on this scenario, but basically right now in the studio, what we do is when we kill the studio, we kill the supervisor process, but we don't kill the launcher process. And so then if you go back into the same studio, or even actually, even if you go back into a different studio, you could have issues. Now, that's going to be fairly nuanced, as you know, if you're running a Docker studio as opposed to a Linux studio. And I'm not exactly sure what he's, you know, if the second studio that he's talking about, if that's a native Linux Studio on the same box where he's running Hab under System D, or if it's a totally separate Docker studio.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's kind of unclear. I don't know if he's seeing this inside the studio. It seems like he would have to be, right, because he's using souplog. So this,
Yeah.
oh, right. And he even says that this is when he's running it. Yep. So I do think that this is probably that same problem that that we were talking about in general earlier. I think we may have, perhaps not. I thought that we might actually have another issue related to this, but I think that that conversation has actually just been happening in general. So let's go ahead and flag this as a bug. I do think that this will probably be get resolved with the release today. We'll put it in accepted minors, since I think that this is one of the things we're trying to fix. And we'll go ahead and move along from there to 2778. Yep, I definitely agree with Nathan and Jamie there. I think the appropriate thing to do is to add a new dependency in a glibc on core Iona Etsy. But the only problem with that being that it's going to be a minute before that this gets corrected, just because rebuilding glibc. Rebuilding glibc is going to mean rebuilding the universe. So I'll update this right now into to include a few things. I mean, I guess technically this is an issue with the glibc plan and not an issue with Habitat. I'll put this actually as less easy as well, just because of the amount of time that it's going to be involved in rebuilding the universe after a change to core glibc. And I think that should be good. It's just going to be literally adding a dependency and rebuilding the chain. So this is something that we will have to do if we want this fixed. $27.76. This is a good card. The Christmas. I'm going to go ahead and throw this on our board, just because I would assume that that's probably where it needs to go. And we can worry about the milestone later. 2775.
It seems like this came up, and we were all, yeah, there isn't any documentation, is there? And then we found the documentation, as Sean mentions below. Like, if you go there, I mean, I think that's the documentation we're talking about, and I think this might be tracked actually back to our search engine, where we were finding that basically our search engine just isn't, the search engine on the site isn't finding some of the content. Do you remember that, Ian? Seems like we switched.
Yeah, it sounds familiar to me. Yeah, I mean, like I think that we have a majority of the helpers documented here. I don't. I mean, I'm not. I can't say that. Yeah, they're all documented, but I don't know of any aside from these. So this might definitely be a bug just with the search, and I think that might make sense. Chore. This probably, yeah. Let me go ahead and update this with a comment. And let's actually do that real quick. No, they're here. Want to probably search for though is see if like handlebars is returning anything. Yeah, it looks like that is in fact returning okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. I'm gonna throw this in help wanted, if only because I would assume that if Chris feels good about it, he may just want to close it out. All right. Moving on from 2775 down to, oops. Yeah, let's go ahead and update that. Sorry. We've got some new ones in here as well. 2774. Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think we'll probably end up building.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I really need that.
What did you say there, Matt?
I was just saying, yeah, I totally agree with this. Like this would be a great feature, and yeah, I agree with you. I think this would be something that we would build.
Yep, absolutely. So
yeah, you have to kind of go through the JSON maze, and having a
right.
CLI would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially after we changed our endpoints to for some of this stuff to expose raw JSON. If we're talking like configuration only, it used to be that when you would hit the config endpoint, it would show you the TOML, the actual TOML values. But after we kind of slurp that into the supervisor and it gets shared around, what we do now is just expose the raw JSON. And even that is like, it's fine. And if you have a browser plugin to prettify JSON, there's no issue reading it. But if you don't, then you just get this big old blob of JSON back, and even that is kind of not
And
delightful.
there's just a lot of JSON there, and it's hard to, especially for the uninitiated, to figure out, well, which part is the one that I care about. And there's multiple endpoints that all kind of expose different angles to configuration and service state, and especially for the uninitiated, it's very difficult to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, cool. All right, let's move on to 2767. So this is not that package over or that config overrides don't work. I think that this is specifically related to the way that we parse that environment variable, in that it has to be, well, this looks right to me now that I'm looking at it. It has to be actual TOML. And so it's not clear, and it's not an easy interface for people to use, for sure. This is something that we can test out pretty easily. For now, what I would like to do is, yeah, this is probably a documentation bug, in that, like, we may be telling users to do the wrong thing as far as how to get those overridden. All right, let's go ahead for now and put this into help wanted. I'm going to also add chore to this, and I'm going to leave Trevor a little comment here really quickly. Oh, of course. Goodness. There we go. That's fine. We'll come back to this probably. Yeah, I'll come back and look at this here shortly. But for now, I've put it in help wanted. It may be a documentation bug, and we'll go from there. And that was 2767, so we're going to move on to 2766.
Yeah, this is definitely something that we're planning on doing. We can put this into accepted minor. On the Windows side, I'd say so. Right now, on the Windows side, we're working on getting Habitat working well with ASP.NET, like traditional .NET full framework, IIS apps, which a lot of people have been curious about. So that's the focus right now. But once we wrap that, this is probably the very next thing, especially in a production scenario. Like this is a must-have.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Yeah, so I've thrown that in accepted minor for now. And let's move on to 2761. I think this was going on right before I went on vacation. But it's possible that it's continued since then. This may be a legitimate bug. I think that Adam was working with Blake on this. I don't know if this is resolved or not. We've since then also had another release. And this was a super strange issue that I was hacking on with them to try to figure it out. But I don't really know what the actual state of this is currently. For now, I'm going to at least flag this with supervisor. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Adam and Blake what their current state is on this. Cool. And for now, what I'm going to do is I am going to put this into help wanted, if only because we don't need to re-triage it. And if there is an actual bug in here that we can identify, we may end up closing this out and opening another issue that's specific to what the bug is. But if not, we'll leave it this way for now, and we'll get some more discussion on it and see if we can't figure out what's actually going on there, or whether or not it's been resolved. We're going to move down to 2736 next. I'll give you all a moment, and I can pretty easily explain. I actually talked with Mandy about this. This is a change that needs to happen to a majority of our core plans, just to ensure that our cross-platform behavior remains the same. Effectively, the issue is that on Ubuntu nodes, if you're running a bare metal Ubuntu node, Ubuntu actually take their bin sh and they symlink it to bin dash, which is the Debian shell. And dash has some, it's mostly really similar to bash, but it's quite a bit more lightweight. And so there are some behaviors that just don't translate from, and this is a good example of it, which is the pipe fail kind of the set command. So the set -eo pipe fail, I think command inside of dash is going to die because of the -o flag. The easiest fix, and I think probably the right fix, we had some conversations in general about this as well right before I went on vacation, but I think the easiest fix for these things right now, and what we should probably be doing going forward, is changing our shebang inside of core plans to point to the core bash, as opposed to relying on underlying system bash in any circumstance. Now that provides, that presents some other complications in that, you know, if core bash doesn't exist on the system, then we end up needing to make sure that it's installed on the system, right? So effectively, anything that you would roll out would need to have core bash rolled out with it too. At least in relation to some of the hooks, right? I wasn't sure. I think I had a conversation with Fletcher about it. I wasn't sure if this is if it's the right thing to go in and update all of core plans to use the core bash. It might be, but it's something that we probably need to discuss a little bit more. And it is going to be related to both the plan build and the supervisor. Go ahead and leave a comment real quick. All right. For now, I think that this is going to go in accepted minor because we definitely need to talk about it. We need to have some idea of how we are going to correct that problem one way or the other. Let me correct some formatting here real quick. I'm bad at Markdown. There we go. Got it. Let's go ahead and move on from there to, we just hit 2719. Yeah, that would be great. Go ahead and put that in accepted minor as well. Dave's already assigned this to himself. Good to go. 2676. So this got triaged a couple weeks ago. We asked for a little bit of updated information, but it looks like Chris hasn't had a chance to respond yet. So I will reach out to him directly outside of GitHub and see if he can update this issue. And if not, we'll go ahead and close it out. $26.46. Yep, it's great. I would assume this is something he's building. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and throw that into the core engineering project. Yeah, it looks like, oh, you know what? I'm not sure what happened here. Why does this show open? I'll go ahead and what I'm going to do is ask Tasha and Chris to clarify. Let's go ahead and look at 2548. We still have not had much discussion around these package splits or the concept of package splits. Right now, we don't really have a separate process for handling RFCs like this. Not that's 100% defined. Most of our RFCs just follow along the same path as issue triage. But for issues like this that would be kind of far-reaching changes that might require touching a lot of the code base, we probably don't want to just dump them into accepted minor or dump them into help wanted without first having a strong idea of whether or not we would in fact implement a change like this. This specifically, if you have an opinion on it and you're watching the video, please feel free to chime in. We've talked about it a few times at some various triages over the last couple of months. For now, the long and the short of it is we might want to have a first-class way to handle packages that may output more than one package, handle builds that may output more than one package. And what I mean by that is in the case of, let's say you're building the Postgres package. Postgres you don't always want to install the Postgres database when you're installing Postgres, right? Sometimes your app needs that some Postgres libraries in order to do interactions with a Postgres database. Sometimes you are installing the Postgres database itself. But right now, the way that we handle this is that you would need to build separate packages for Postgres libs, Postgres docs, and Postgres. And each of those would be an independent build. So what that means is that we're basically doing 3 times the effort on a build like this, because we have to go out and get that source code 3 times and implement that build 3 times. And it doesn't mean that we're doing the exact same functions each time, but it might, depending on the actual package itself. So the example that we have is, like, if you look at package builds, some package build packages, you can see this idea that's kind of what they call splits. And a split effectively allows you to say, hey, what we want is we're going to take this Postgres source and we're going to build Postgres. But when we're done building, what we would like to do is split this package into multiple different packages. We'd like to build Postgres one single time, and then we'd like to split out the Postgres libs that are going to be part of the output of our builds, part of our build artifact, and then we'd like to split out our binary into its own thing as well. Right now, we can sort of do that in that we can source another plan, but this doesn't really resolve the issue of having a single unified build for multiple output packages. The reason this is an RFC is that a change like this would be very, very wide sweeping. We have not gotten any traction on it. I would probably say we'll leave this open for another couple of weeks, and I will take it back to general to see if people are interested in discussing it. And if we can't get a consensus or community interest, then we'll close it out. So for now, it's going to stay outside of a milestone, and we'll come back to it in a week. And we're going to move on to 2511. It looks like this has the same. This went through the same thing as the other card that Tasha and Chris were working on. I have a feeling that this has actually already been done. And actually, I just got an email that Tasha closed the other one out saying that it had already shipped. I'm guessing that we've actually already done this. But I'm going to go ahead and ask for an update here as well. We'll move on from there to 2509, Mr. Matt Rock. I think you did this, didn't you?
Let's see. Update on call document. Keep GH markdown. Oh, you know what? I start on that. So we're away at a customer engagement, so it was hard for me to keep focus on this. But I was having issues with my environment. I still haven't resolved it with Terraform, just for whatever reason. I can't even, so I.
Yep.
Owning the Windows stack, I work on Windows now. But I was even having the same difficulty in a Linux VM, and just I lost track of this. So, but
no worries.
This is important.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we did like this one is from May, right? And I know that like you've at least done some stuff in there, because I think some of it is in the wiki.
Oh, this is May. Oh, I was thinking of something else. Can we go back to that, please? Because we had something happen just a couple weeks ago that was kind of spot on with this. So with the latest depot release. Oh, we can close this. Okay, so I did. So yeah, so there's in May. Yeah, we launched all the new builder services, which totally changed our infrastructure for how we run the depot, which basically made current on-call practices irrelevant. And I did post stuff to the wiki and a README to address this. So this is closed.
I thought you did. I'm guessing just some of the stuff got boogered up. No worries. So that's going to be it for today. We'll go ahead. I went ahead and closed it. So we'll go ahead and refresh here. And we're going to meet again next Tuesday, theoretically. Meet again next Tuesday for triage as well. We'll come back to some of these things that have kind of been long-lived. And at the end of the month, we're going to come, or if not the end of the month, the beginning of next month, we're going to do another triage session that's going to go through and reprioritize the issues that have been triaged already, just to verify, in fact, some things that may have been resolved, and to get an idea of other things that might need to be prioritized or deprioritized based on just kind of the way that the project has grown and evolved. So for now, that's going to be it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast, and we'll see all of you next week.